everybody, Conscious of Economics and Urban Farm Project. Just got done on a walk. We have a white Christmas on the eve of spring equinox. Yep, we had this crazy geoengineered storm for like a week. You could tell it was geoengineered. You can still tell. And we're supposed to get a little bit more, I guess, but, we'll see how that goes. Otherwise, up until then, we had like 80 plus degrees at 4,700 feet elevation in Reno at the base of the Sierra Nevadas. So, yeah, it wasn't that great this winter. So, anyway, so, lately I see a lot of, there are a lot of things that I don't get to talk about because I talk about on different mediums. So sometimes blogging, being a guest on a radio show, my YouTube channel, other projects, groups of people that I'm involved with. So I don't always get all the information out on one platform, right? And I'm getting ready to end my radio show, just coming to the end of it, around May 9th. So, yeah, so today it was super great. I actually got a killer sleep last night, 12 hours. It was like the most sleep I've gotten in years. And then, today just getting a few things done. So hunker down like the rest of the population. And then we went on a walk along the river just now. Me and my co-pilot, Turd Muffin. What? Turd Muffin? Is that you? Is that you, Turd Muffin? Yep. So anyway, we went out there and did a walk in the snow. And anyway, she was having a great time. She loved it. She loved good snow. So I've been seeing a lot of stuff, so I kind of wanted to just tell my story. So when I was around 23, when I was 22, I really needed a change. By the time that I was 23, spring of 23, I ended up moving to Washington State. It was kind of divinely led. So it all happened in a month. I ended up getting, was working 2 full-time jobs. No, we're not. Shh. That's a shh. Okay, thank you. Thank you for help. You're just a great helper. Thank you for letting me know there's a bad guy. I know, thanks so much. Okay, so I moved to Washington State, and the whole process was like a kick-ass divine-led push. One of those things that it just happens. Got a second job bartending at night, 40 hours a week, was saving my money and my tips. I had a business during the day, cleaning business. So, I'm used to going through periods of my life where I work, 80 to 100 hours a week. And it's no different now. It's just that, I don't really get paid. So, you kind of like, if you're sort of like self-employed or, trying to help humanity, there's really no jobs out there that are going to be beneficial for that. And you just have to keep educating yourself and getting information out there and blah, blah, blah. So this story is about Archangel Micheal because I want people to kind of understand that this being, especially if it's really in close proximity to you and you're not imagining information, what this being is really like. And, you know, because I'm a big Steiner person and read a lot of Steiner, and he has so many books on all different kinds of beings, like 30 categories of beings. And, you know, I'm not so attached to Archangel, that they are just different beings that have, you know, they're more unseen, they're energetic, just like dark forces, you know, they're operating. But I just really hate the whole fixed, you know, terminology for beings that we have, that we're dealing with in this world. And I always tell people, like, the first, you know, forces that I was dealing with on this planet were dark forces. So when I was around 4, we lived on this property where, you know, I would be out by myself on the land. It was fenced in. And then, you know, like a hole would open up in the ground immediately. And then I could hear whispering, like multiple types of groups of voices whispering. And it wasn't always audible, like, you know, wasn't always like speech that I could understand. So I'm pretty aware of what's a light force, what's a dark force. But in shamanism, you know, we like to be in balance. We like to be neutral. We like to not give or lend power to either side. And we like to just stand in a fixed place and, you know, observe. Because sometimes darker energy is needed, sometimes lighter energy is needed, or sometimes both. And sometimes the most important thing that you can do is be in the center and balancing it out. If you're going to be an antenna or an acupuncture needle, or, you know, holding a point in time and space on this planet. Hey, Jin, come here. Over here. Come on. Okay, thank you. I know. Oh, wow. That's quite a group, huh? That you should be seriously worried about all those people. I know. Yeah, we've got some we got like a herd of doggies and a whole bunch of small children on push bikes and skateboards, and they're all out of control. So, you know, Jin's deal is all about, you know, making sure those doggies are in, you know, the herd is in control, right? Because she got sheep herder in her. So she's like, yeah, we got to make sure that is a tight-knit group and it's herded together, and it can't be all crazy like that and all over the place. Yeah, you have to herd those people. So anyway, okay, so when I was 23, I ended up in Washington State, and it is kind of a long story, so I'll get to the point. And it's a story that, you know, I could tell at some other period of time. I have a blog. I wrote a blog story about, it might be on my blog, COE-LLC, about the Lakota Sioux medicine woman that I studied with. But I've talked about her here and there. But anyway, I ended up doing an apprenticeship with her. And in the beginning, you know, she had a person that did the grounding for her that would, you know, like a battery, hold on to the body so she could do all the work necessary, because she would have to go out so far away in different energy fields, and we didn't want to harm the person in the body, and the soul and the spirit needed to stay in the body. So the person that grounded the body would, you know, help that person to kind of go into a sleep state while my teacher could get the work done. So when I came on board and started doing this apprenticeship for a year, she started having me take notes. So, you know, some of these sessions were like 3 hours long, and so, you know, taking notes. And as the energy would shift in the room, because we would keep the door shut and nobody would come in and nobody was allowed to leave until the session was done because it could cause injury. And we could let things in we don't want in. So, we would she would secure the room energetically so everything was safe. So she could travel multidimensionally to get the healing done for the people that we were working on. Mostly people had terminal illness, which she cured, and there would just be different energies that would shift in that room. And sometimes the energies were so intense, like, in the beginning, it's a very shamanism thing, is, your brain wants to shut down, your body wants to shut down. You all of a sudden become so exhausted, like you can't even hold your head up. Sometimes, the hair stands up on your body and you have this instant, like, run for your life kind of a feeling. So, in the midst of these sessions and, me taking notes of what's going on, and then all these different energy fields, because when I was, and mind you, I come from bloodlines. I had worked on earth and people and animals like my whole life before I ended up in this experience. But this is how intense energies like this are. So, when people are like haphazardly talking about, what this angel is saying and doing and all this other stuff, I doubt it, because the interaction with these beings is so unbelievably intense. I spent most of 23 working with this Lakota Sioux medicine woman, just trying to stay conscious and awake in these sessions to try to take notes, because there were times where I literally would like funk right over onto the table, boom, gone, blackout, check out. A few times I got up from the chair to, like, even though I wasn't allowed to leave the room, my body attempted to try to leave the room. And for example, in this case that I'm going to tell you about, with the experience of being around Archangel Micheal, probably was one of the second most intense energetic experiences I've ever had in my life. The other one was with working with shamanic person and energy, which did the same thing, just went keeled right over. And the reason I like shamanism is that it's so difficult when you're standing in the face of a lot of these things to be fully present, fully conscious, fully in balance, fully aware of everything that's going on. And so you're not being hypnotized, taken over, and you're not checking out and keeling over, blacking out. Because your brain and your energy field and your body, all these different aspects of you are triggered by different things. And your body has, and your brain has a major, major survival, aspect to it. So it either wants to run, it wants to fight, or it wants to freeze, check out. Boom. So when I was 23, I spent a lot of time in these sessions, and she knew that I was doing the best that I could, and that this was going to be so difficult for anybody, because I'm being thrown, into, level 8 rapids when I haven't even kayaked on that river ever in my own kayak. So, it's a sink or swim, and, she would have to periodically come back to the room and take a look at what's going on, and then, try to lift me up energetically, or, say some very simple phrases to help me get kind of back together and get back up on the chair and, continue. Later on, once I, had achieved being able to be in control of my emotional body and my emotional field, and override kind of a lot of my primitive survival mechanisms, then, we started working on a lot of other stuff. But So this kind of about, I was thinking about, it was pretty funny too, because I was been reading a lot of stuff on the internet that makes absolutely no sense to me about things like Archangel Michael and blah, 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 blah. And I suspect just in the presence of this being's energy field, you would not be able to recall or witness anything. Because the energy is so intense. If it's a first person, right? One-on-one. But anyway, so I was reading this one article about somebody's, I don't know, talking about Archangel Michael and the stuff that's going on Earth or whatever else. And, I was reading the article and I was thinking to myself, like, things are not as simple as this. And if this person was really working with Archangel Michael, they probably wouldn't be, number one, remembering most of it. I mean, a meditation or, there's lots of different things. And, I've talked about this kind of stuff before, that, real information takes a lot of control, and it takes a lot of training, and it takes a lot of ability, and it takes a lot of tenacity to harness it, I guess, maybe might be the word. And so I was like, oh my God, I mean, I can't believe that these people are kind of writing some of the stuff that they're writing. And I heard this voice start talking to me. And, I'm like sitting there thinking, because I have lots of voices that talk to me. I was thinking, oh, who's this? And the voice said, you know me. And then showed me back this memory that I'm going to tell you about. And I said, you know what? I do know you. And so I was like, maybe I should talk to people about this. So I'm taking notes. We're in a session. We're halfway through the session. There was a lot of crazy stuff that happened. There was a major being that was, this person had been channeling this being, and we had to remove it because, a lot of these channel beings are actually, reptilian, dark forces that, pose as light. So I've talked about this before. The most lightest beings that most people are interacting with and gaining information and talking about, on the net, are beings that are bad. So we got a lot of people who had beings attachments. They were becoming like boogie hotels. And, at the beginning when they're doing this channeling work and whatever else, and, it's all fine and dandy, self-importance, ego. But then after a while, the people find that this thing is controlling kind of everything that's going on. And they can't seem to shake them. They can't seem to have any personal time or whatever else. And the things become more and more embedded. And there's a whole other story. I think it's like, don't believe the, bullshit, channeling lies. It's an older video that I did like a long time ago. You can look that up on my YouTube channel. And it talks about what happened after this person we worked on. But we're going to talk about why I was working on him. So there was this point in the session, I had all kinds of stuff. When that being was being removed, there was some other stuff that was going on energetically in the room, working on the person. And I had the fear to run, but I made it off the chair towards that bedroom door where we're doing the session, and then passed out on the floor. So, my teacher, the Lakota Sioux medicine woman, kind of had to come out of her state, kind of, make some statements to me, which actually triggered my brain to wake up, get back on the chair, start finishing taking notes. So there's just, in that session, that 3 hours, it was just like, like a major battle. And, I just my body just was ping-ponging and reacting on its own all over the place, and my mind and my brain and my emotional body. And so towards the end of the session, all of a sudden I'm writing notes. I'm sitting at this desk. I'm writing notes, the final kind of notes. She's telling me what the final notes are from across the room. And all of a sudden I feel like there is a fan, like circling above my head that's on full speed, like right above my head. And I'm starting to get cold, and I can feel this air, and my hair is kind of moving too. And all the hair on my whole body stands up. I'm having these crazy ripples through my body, and I'm like terrified. Like my body goes into terror. Because it's just like overwhelming everything about me. And I'm trying to write these notes. I'm trying to stay focused. I'm trying to stay conscious. Even now I can feel in my back, like some of that memory of that rippling energy is like going through my lower back. Whew. It was so intense. I like went into shock, like paralyzed, like I couldn't write. Just the whole experience was so unbelievably intense. And at one point my teacher says to me, don't worry, it's the Archangel Micheal, and he's coming into the room right above you. And I'm thinking to myself, great. But as that energy was coming down and coming down and coming down, like, I became completely disabled. Like I couldn't talk. I wanted to scream and I wanted to run for my life just because of the energy was so intense. I mean, it was so intense, but basically my body just froze. My mouth froze, my eyes froze, everything froze. And then I just kind of fell over in the chair and hit the deck. And it was like paralyzed on the floor. And I've run into other extraterrestrials that are super high evolved beings that had similar effects on me, but they would try to hold back a lot of the energy, right, to try to help control my mind so that I didn't start vomiting or stress out, or because my brain and emotions and things get triggered, and you want to just run. So a lot of these energies are like super intense. And I just wanted to point that out, that, sometimes, even though I've been well trained, I come from bloodlines, I'm genetically predisposed for dealing with multidimensional things and beings, in the type of work I do, I still have to really work at being focused and being conscious and making sure that, I'm in a good energetic space to actually interact with these beings, have these beings in my space, and things of that nature, because it's that intense. So I just kind of want to tell you that about, Archangel Micheal, and about, the first time that I actually had that being on the outskirts of my field and moving through my field, and kind of the effects of what something like that's like. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. I can see why, a lot of these beings kind of operate in the field of light that is not seeable by most humans. Because otherwise we couldn't, we wouldn't be able to actually get through it if we saw the truth. And, there's stories of the military where they were using certain types of red frequencies in their night vision, and they went totally crazy because they saw like all kinds of what they thought as demons all over in the air and on the ground, like, like full, like, around us all the time. So, I think that, us not being able to see a lot of that stuff helps to keep us kind of like stable, because I think if most people saw these things or actually really interacted with some of these things, they wouldn't be talking so simplistic about these beings, because these beings are not simplistic and their energy fields are not that simplistic. And sometimes you can get these kinds of beings, good, bad, doesn't matter, into your energy field, and it could kill you. Like, it could put you into a coma. It can crack your mind in a way where you never come back. That's why, in a lot of the shamanism work and teachers that I've had, it's been kind of a slow integration. And my teachers did a hell of a job. Like, I'm like, 51 now? But when I was 23, I mean, my teacher was unbelievable in how she handled me and took care of me and helped me, through the process, because she knew that I would go on and do a lot of this work. And I needed to be prepared. And I'm sure that were days where she just wanted to take a club and beat me to death. Because it's just a long, slow process of development. And, think about how much harder her sessions were, because she allowed me to come in because she was going to teach me. But first I had to integrate, I had to get used to, these energy fields. So anyway, these beings are not simple beings. They shouldn't be talked about in such simplistic ways. And it gives me pause to think about some of the stuff that's written, like lately, about Archangel Micheal. Seems like there's a lot of it, that most of it's probably not even remotely true. Because I'm pretty sure if you were in a room and you saw this being, felt it first before you even saw it, you probably would like black out. So sometimes, we can have states where we think that we're connected and we're collecting information, but we're really not. And maybe it's not really that kind of a being that we're talking to. Maybe it's a lower end being who is manufacturing something that's more palatable for us, right? To get in, to get attached, blah, 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 blah. All right, anyway, everybody, I gotta go. I got stuff to do, but that's your conversation for today about higher intensity beings, and all right, everybody, I'll talk to you later. Conscious of Economics and Virginia Doggoff. Bye.